Welcome to another educational video for CSCI 1300. My name is Ioana Fleming and we are talking about the while loop. We have designed an example with a while loop meant to stop Sisyphus' chore of rolling the stone up the hill over and over and over again. Now let's continue to look at this example and try to analyze a few properties, a few characteristics of the while loop. First things first, when do we use a while loop? Well, we usually use a while loop when we want to repeat a block of statement, but we don't know how many times are we going to need to repeat that block of statement. We know, however, that we want to keep repeating that block of statements as long as a condition remains true. Well, you're going to tell me, well, we actually kind of do know in this case how many times this while loop will execute, because the day of the month is 15 and we only need another 15 days and then it will become October and so on. Well, sure, in this particular example we might, but what if these two variables were not really, filled with magic numbers, but rather, we were taking some input from the user. Enter the month and the day of the month. Something like this, right? And then we would capture those as month and day of month, right? Then, this value could be anything. This value could be anything. Well, let's think about a few examples. So, first things first, while loop, we don't know exactly how many times will it execute, but we know that it will execute as long as a condition remains true. Now let's do a few examples here and figure out how many times could actually, possibly, a while loop execute. So let's say we're asking the user to enter things. Let's do this. Let's clear this out. Let's compile again. Okay. Let's run it. Enter the month and the day of the month. Let's say, I'm opening this program and it's actually August. I'm going to enter 8 for August and 24 for the date. Uh-oh, what just happened? Let's try to trace it a little bit. So we entered here 8 and 24. We arrived on line 11 at the condition, and the condition said, is the value of month 9. Well, it wasn't. The value the user entered was 8. So this condition was false. It was false the first time we evaluated the while loop. And since it was false, the while loop body executed 0 times. Nada, nil, not at all. We went straight here and printed out Sisyphus out. That's not quite exactly what we wanted, because we wanted to wait until October. So that's not really what we intended. But we'll chalk it up as point number 2, property number 2. A while loop could execute 0 times. If we look again at the flowchart, remember we arrive in the condition. If the condition is false the first time, we go whoop all the way here at the end. This loop body will never get executed. So there is a possibility that the condition will be false the first time. Okay? If we enter 9 and we enter some day of the month, we saw that for 9 and 15, this loop executed 15, 16 times. For some other value, we'll execute some other number of times. So it could be, a while loop could execute 0 times, could execute 1 time or 2 times or more times. But while loop could also execute an infinite number of times. And we did that. We did that at the beginning of our example. If we didn't have anything in here, inside the loop body, that will change the value of this variable, so it will never become false, it will always be true, then this will go over and over and over again. So a while loop could execute 0 times, 1 or more times, or an infinite number of times. An infinite loop is not good. You can't stop it. And we were saying that a program needs to terminate. So that's not something that we will actually want. Let's see an example of loop that goes an infinite number of times. I'm going to comment this. So there's no check for day of the month. Day of the month will keep increasing and increasing and increasing. We gotta make sure that the user enters 9, or else this loop will not enter at all. But let's try this again. Save, compile, run. 9, 1. Keeps going. The number keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. I'm going to have to press Control C to stop it. It basically has stopped and there's nothing I can do. It would have gone over and over and over again forever. So remember, Control C to stop it. So let's recap. Depending on what happens here before the while loop could execute 0 times or 1 or more times. Depending on what we have inside the loop body, on whether we have a statement that modifies the variable involved in the condition, the loop will execute 1 time, multiple times, and at some point will stop. Or if we don't have anything modified, it will become an infinite loop. Thank you for your attention. See you soon.